The happiest people you know are not lucky. They are not naturally optimistic. Most of them have survived things that would have broken you. What separates them is 9 small, almost invisible habits the Stoics identified 2,000 years ago, and which modern psychology keeps quietly rediscovering under different names. Subscribe before we go further. Write down which of these 9 you're already missing. Part 1. Epictetus opened his entire philosophy with one distinction. Some things are up to us, some things are not. The happiest people have simply internalized this more deeply than everyone else. They don't waste energy negotiating with traffic, other people's opinions, or yesterday's weather. They spend that energy exclusively on the small circle of things actually within their control, their effort, their attitude, their next action. Part 2. Marcus Aurelius began his days by mentally rehearsing difficulty, not to become pessimistic, but so that when friction actually arrived, it arrived at a mind already prepared, rather than a mind caught off guard. Happy people do a quieter version of this daily. A few seconds before the day starts, anticipating what might go wrong removes the shock when it does. If you've ever had a small annoyance ruin your entire afternoon, hit like right now, because this single habit is the direct fix for that. Part 3. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a gap. Untrained minds skip that gap entirely. The happiest people have trained themselves to notice at a breath, a pause, a single beat before responding to an insult, a delay, a disappointment. That pause is where all their composure actually lives. Part 4. Seneca warned repeatedly against a life scattered across too many concerns. Happy people tend to have a genuinely short list of what they're actually optimizing for a handful of relationships, a small number of goals, 1 or 2 values they return to constantly. Everything else is allowed to simply pass by without demanding a reaction. Part 5. A failed plan is not, to a Stoic, evidence of a flawed life. It's data. The happiest people ask, "What does this teach me?" almost automatically, skipping the extended detour into shame or self-punishment that keeps most people stuck for days after a single mistake. Subscribe if this is resonating. Next week, we go deeper into exactly how to build this specific habit. Part 6. There's a quiet dignity Stoic writers return to again and again, the idea that hardship doesn't need an audience to be real. Happy people rarely narrate their struggles for sympathy. They handle what's difficult privately, then talk about it, if at all, once it's already resolved. Part 7. Seneca occasionally lived like a poor man on purpose. Simple food. Hard beds, specifically so comfort, never became something he feared losing. Happy people build small versions of this into ordinary life. A cold shower, a day without their phone, a walk in bad weather. The habit isn't suffering for its own sake. It's proof, repeated regularly, that they can handle more than they assumed. Part 8. Holding resentment, to a Stoic, is agreeing to be governed by someone else's past behavior indefinitely. Happy people let go of grudges not because the other person deserved it, but because carrying it any longer stopped serving them. If you've ever held on to anger longer than it actually helped you, drop it in the comments. I want to know how long it took you to finally let it go. Part 9. The final habit, and the hardest one. Not tolerating your life. Not settling for it. Actively choosing to work with exactly what exists, rather than the version you wish existed instead. This single shift removes the background static of constant wishing that quietly exhausts almost everyone else. Closing. None of these 9 habits require money, talent, or luck. They require repetition. The Stoics didn't discover happiness. They discovered a discipline that happens to produce it as a side effect, the same discipline available to you. starting with whichever one of these 9 you're currently missing. Hit that like button if this gave you something to actually practice today. Drop in the comments which of these 9 habits do you already have, and which one are you missing. I read every single one. Subscribe before you go. Next week we build on this. Until then, pick one, just one, and practice it today.